Welcome to today's episode of the Normalized Surrogacy podcast by Surrogacy Mentor. I'm your host, Marielle Schubert, three-time experienced gestational surrogate and intake manager for Surrogacy Mentor and Modern Parent Mentor, where our aim is a safe, ethical, and enjoyable surrogacy journey for all. Today, I am excited to have Surrogacy Mentor's own administrative coordinator and experienced surrogate, Maya, with us. And today we're going to get to know Maya a little bit better, and we're going to talk to her about her surrogacy journey, what led her to Surrogacy Mentor, and all the good things. So welcome, Maya.
Thank you so much for having me, Marielle. I'm excited to be here and share a little bit about my story.
And we're excited to have you. We've finally introduced you to everybody as an official member of our team, who is also an experienced surrogate. And so it just seemed like the next right thing to do is get you on an episode, and we'll talk about your journey and kind of what led you to the side of the surrogacy world after completing your own surrogacy journey. So why don't we start there, and you can tell us a little bit about you and your family and what made you want to be a surrogate in the first place.
Absolutely. So a little bit about me. I'm from Tennessee. I'm married to a wonderful partner. We have 2 kids, a 6-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. My family is absolutely my world, and becoming a mother was the most, transformative experience, I'd say, of my life. It taught me the true meaning of unconditional love. It really deepened my understanding of the value of family. So the idea of becoming a surrogate happened about a few years ago. At the time, one of my close friends was considering surrogacy because she was unable to carry a child for herself. And so initially I was just curious and didn't think too much about it. But as I started learning more, the concept really stuck with me. I remember researching online and reading stories from surrogates and intended parents. And something just clicked with me. I've always loved being pregnant. My pregnancies were pretty smooth and I enjoyed the experience. Well, I would say a little bit of the experience, not all of it, but overall, I love carrying a life inside of me. What really pulled me towards surrogacy, though, was the idea that I could help someone. The joy of parenthood means a lot to me. I can't imagine what my life would be like without my children. So knowing that there are people out there who long for children, who dream of being parents, but for whatever reason can't carry their own, that's what really motivated me. I thought, if I have the ability to help someone else fulfill that dream, why wouldn't I? It felt more like a calling to me, something that I could do to give back in a really meaningful way. And the idea of being able to give a couple or family the gift of a child felt very rewarding. And so I did it.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. That's I would say, after talking with so many surrogates and, on the podcast and just in general in the community, your story started very similarly to how a lot of ours start, right? Yeah. Well, I was going to do it for a friend or family member, and, it got me thinking about it, and you mostly enjoy being pregnant. Pregnancy is easy, and so I think it's wonderful that so many of us start that way and continue that journey, even if it's not for a close friend or family member. I know that's one of the first questions I used to get as a surrogate was, well, do you know the family? And it's like, no, but I do now.
Yes.
And it's funny how similar some of these things kind of tie into it. And so you had this friend that you had kind of talked about. So you bring this up to your partner. How did your spouse react, and how did your family react to the thought of you carrying a baby for someone else?
Yeah. So I will start off by saying I was so nervous about telling them, just because when, my friend was going through it, I thought, it just like everyone else thinks. I'm like, oh my goodness, that lady's going to give up her baby to give to you. Until I did my own research, and, that's not how it is. So I was just like, well, maybe they think It's going to be my child, but it wasn't. But when I told them, especially my husband, I wasn't really sure how he would react, but he's always been very supportive of me. So when I brought up the idea, he had a lot of questions naturally. So we talked it through and through all that different aspects, how it would impact our family, what the process would be like, what kind of support I would need from him. And ultimately, after understanding why it was so important to me, he was completely on board. He knew how much pregnancy and motherhood meant to me, and he saw how deeply I was connected with the idea of helping another family. I think that made it easier for him to support my decision. As for my extended family and friends, it was a mix of reactions. Some were immediately supportive, and others needed time to really understand what surrogacy is. I would say definitely for like my older, like my grandparents, they really needed to understand that it was not my child. But I remember having to explain a lot about how the process worked because some people had misconceptions. They thought I'd be giving up my own baby, and I had to clarify that I was just carrying the baby for someone else. Once they understood that, most of them were really supportive. Of course, there were a few who were worried about me emotionally. They would say, like, would it be hard to let go of the baby after birth? But I knew going in that it was not my child, and I was prepared for the emotional aspect. Aspect. In fact, I think my family and friends were very surprised about how calm and centered I was about the whole process.
Yeah, I think that's such a hard thing for people who don't get it to really
Yeah.
understand, like the way you can kind of separate the two. And that's what I always say, if you don't think you could do it, don't. There are
Yeah.
people who are cut out for it and people who aren't. And it's great that people can be self-aware enough to know that there's no way they could. So please don't if you don't feel like you could. But it's a very hard thing to describe until you've done it, that you are able to carry a baby and care for this pregnancy the way you would your own. But it's just so different from the beginning that it's not hard to detach after the birth because you get to see it's what you did it for. It's the point.
Mhm.
I always like to, clarify there are still biological processes, at work here. You did just deliver a baby, and whether it's coming home with you or not, there are those hormone crashes and dips that do happen just from a biological standpoint. And so I would like to stress to women, don't expect that like you're just going to walk out of there and go home like everything is normal. It's not. There's still going to be, some emotion and some ups and downs. But at least for me, it was never about going home without a baby. It was, I think I cried because we were out of milk in the refrigerator and I wanted cereal. Not because I didn't have a baby,
Absolutely.
like those kind of things.
Yeah, so the only reason why I knew I had a kid was just because, the pain that I had a kid. But emotionally, I mean, I was back home with my 2 kids and it was around Christmas time and I was busy. I mean, sometimes like I would forget that I had a baby. Like I just had a baby. So
Life
I
went
know.
back to normal pretty quickly afterwards.
Yes. I mean, I didn't feel like, I was sad because I didn't go home with the baby. Um, I was so excited for my intended parents to take home their child to share with their family and to spend the holidays with their new son. So for me, I mean, I never had like the attachment and I knew what it was like going in. So I feel like when you go in it, you just kind of set that aside and like, I'm not going to get attached because it's not my child.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yep. And I think that's the only way you can go in because it can get wild if you don't go into it with that mindset. No, I think that is great. So tell us a little bit about your surrogacy experience and the relationship that you have kind of with your IPs now and what it was like with them. Did you go with an agency? Were you independent?
Yeah.
Kind of how your surrogacy journey went.
So when I was researching about surrogacy, I was trying to find a local agency near me. And so I live in Tennessee, and the major city near me, it's Memphis. And I actually, applied through them, but I never got a response back. And I even did it through Nashville too. And that's a huge city next to me too, about 2 hours away. And Still never got a response back. So I just kind of did my research and I come across an agency, and they were pretty fast about responding back to me. Their communication was awesome. So I went through an agency. I got matched with my IPs. As soon as we got matched, the initial um, phone screen and then the Zoom call, I knew that I was supposed to be with them, and I knew I was supposed to be their surrogate. Um, it was a feeling I had. She asked, would you like to move forward? And, on both ends, we said yes within, I think, less than an hour. Um, there was no really need to think about it. Our views were almost the same, and it's just their vibe. It was great. Um, what else I was going to say? They helped me. So the agency, obviously they helped me get matched with them. Once I was matched, I had the chance to meet the intended parents face to face as well. Like I said, I knew they were a great fit. They were a couple who had been trying for years to have a child, and their emotional journey really moved me from the start. We had an open and honest relationship, which I think is key in surrogacy.
Yep.
We talked about everything. Honestly, our expectations, our hopes, our fears. We had a very open communication. It created a bond between us that went beyond just the pregnancy. I would say we're still really good friends. We keep in contact. And I will say um, not every match is going to be like that. I have friends that are surrogates, and they didn't have the relationship like my IPs and myself had, but that's what they wanted and they were okay with. So
Yep.
I would keep that in mind. But this is just what I wanted. I wanted to have, so when I went in, I told my case manager, I was like, hey, I'm wanting someone that, if it's okay with them, that they would like it. If it was organic and the relationship lasted, I would like that. I would like to keep in touch. I would like a friendship. And I would say we were pretty still good friends now. They were so involved. They came to appointments when they could. They checked on me regularly. I would say they were just so grateful every step of the way for me. And I just felt the appreciation they have for me. And that I feel like is key too.
Yep.
When the baby was born, it was one of the most, I say, emotional moments I've experienced outside of me being a mom. Seeing the intended parents hold their baby for the first time, knowing that I helped make that possible. It's really hard, to put into words, but there was a lot of joy, a lot of tears. I was enjoying everything. Everything that I hoped how it would turn out, it turned out even better. I got to see now how the baby is growing, and they send me updates, I'd say about once a month about the baby.
How long ago was your journey? How old is the baby?
Yeah, so the baby is not even actually a year old yet. I had him December 20th. Yes. Yep. I had him December 20th. But yeah, he's awesome. He's beautiful. He looks just like the parents, and um it feels like forever ago though. Like I think about it like, wow, I don't even know how many months that is. I think it's about to be almost a year and like what, 3-4 months.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's
it's been
crazy
awesome.
how fast it goes and how quickly life just goes back to normal. Like it's
Yes.
a lot of people ask, like, how did your kids cope with it? And how's this? I'm like, I came home and we just kept doing what we do. Like it really is amazing how it does just kind of
Yeah.
go back into life.
Yeah. Absolutely. But I will say the connection we built during the surrogacy journey has stayed very strong, and that's something I will always treasure, and I'm very grateful for that.
Absolutely. I love it when you're able to still be connected with your IPs. And sometimes the relationship after it evolves naturally and organically. However, that is, I have very different relationships with all three sets of my IPs, and that's kind of how it is. I always say I didn't set out to do this because I wanted to be super involved in these babies' lives, right? I did this so
Correct.
life with their new families, and however you get to see that or be a part of that after is really personal to each family and how you end up deciding to do that. And so you get matched with them pretty quickly. Did you have any bumps in the road? How was legal and your transfers? Did everything go
No.
through?
So everything went great. A little bit about our story is, they had one embryo, and obviously it stuck, and I got pregnant. The pregnancy itself, I would say this pregnancy was harder than my others. I was in and out of the hospital a lot just because of I had really bad morning sickness, all day sickness. And so I was really dehydrated. And then I had high blood pressure. And so it was just different than my others. And, but yeah, I mean, he came out a healthy baby. I believe he was 8 pounds, 12 ounces, very healthy.
No.
But no complications with the matching, with the legal, everything. I think legal took like a month. The matching was pretty fast. And then transfer date, after I was on my IVF medications, I would say a month after that, we scheduled for IVF.
Wow. So it went pretty quickly for you then. So
Yeah,
I
I would
always,
say
when I
probably
hear,
like in 4 months, maybe like four
wow,
months after I got matched. Yeah.
wow, yeah, that is, everything did go pretty smoothly for you then. So you mentioned that your intended parents had one embryo. Talk to me a
Yes.
little bit about how you felt knowing that this was their one embryo. Did that kind of,
Yeah.
I mean,
So
would you really like to talk real deal here? I mean, did that feel scary or like add pressure
it
to the
did. It
situation?
did. I was very nervous because it was their last chance of becoming parents. And at least, genetically that's related to them. And so I felt, like, oh, I can't be stressed. I want to eat all the right things for the first, I think it's like 2 weeks until you find, or 10 days after transfer
Yep.
date. So I was trying to do everything right, take all my medications on time at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was just, everything was super important to me,
Yeah.
especially the medication and not being stressed. I would say nervous. I was very nervous because I knew how badly they wanted this, and I wanted this for them. But yes, I was very nervous.
For sure. And I think I've had, in all of my journeys, a couple of different scenarios when it comes to that. And I will say, I mean, you always want your transfer to take. You never go into it being blasé, like,
Absolutely.
oh, it's okay. They have 8 more embryos of this one. Like nobody goes into it like that. But I think knowing that this is like the one and done does kind of add an unspoken stress, even though rational thought tells you that, sometimes they don't take. It has nothing to do with you or anything that you're doing. Some embryos just don't take. It's not your fault. You can know all of that, but it can still be a very nerve-wracking time. And I think knowing it's like they're one definitely adds, what doesn't necessarily change how you approach anything, but definitely adds like that kind of unspoken stress of like, oh, I really hope that this one works. And so I'm
Yeah,
so glad that everything went so smoothly for everybody. So were the parents able to be in the delivery room with you?
they were.
And how
Yes,
did
they
that how did that feel for you? I know some women think that they'll be uncomfortable with then being there. Some are like, no, like they absolutely have to be there. Like,
so yeah, I will say it depends on each surrogate how they feel. And I feel like if you have that, if you would feel uncomfortable, go, you have to be an advocate for yourself. I would say that ahead of time during matching, like, hey, to your surrogate and coordinator, like, this is something I do not want. Maybe the mom I would only be interested in. But for me, I was comfortable with both of them being in there just because the mom was unable to carry for herself and they did not get to experience childbirth. And I wanted them to be, I knew that they wanted to experience every step of the way. So I was comfortable with that.
yeah,
Everything went smoothly. It was great. Yeah, it was great. But again, like I said, if, I know some surrogates that went in saying, I only want the mother in the room. And, um, and I think that's okay. You have, like I said, be an advocate for yourself and whatever makes you comfortable because it's your journey too.
yep, yep, absolutely. And so, did you pump for the baby after he was born or? I know some
Say
women
that one
choose.
more time. Sorry.
Did you come after he was born? I know some women choose to and some choose not to.
So, I did, but I did not give it to the baby. I actually donated it to a local milk bank at my hospital. You go through like this program and stuff, but I did pump for about, let's see, I took off about 6 weeks. So I pumped for about 5.
Cool. That's a
Yeah,
lot to do full-time
it
pumping.
was. Well, see, for me, with my other one, with my kids, I had really good milk flow and I breastfed for close to a year with both of them till they were a year old. So I knew it's just something that I'm good at and my milk um, produces really well. So I just hated to waste it. So I just
Yep,
decided to donate it to the NICU babies and the babies that were in need.
that's amazing. Well, I love that you, even after we're still helping others. That's
Yes.
great. Well, that's amazing. I didn't realize it hadn't even been a year yet. Wow. Well, so
Yeah.
you've gone through this, and now are on board with us at Surrogacy Mentor. So you're seeing
Yeah.
kind of the other side of the more professional side of surrogacy. But coming from just being a surrogate yourself and having recently delivered, what advice would you give women who are considering becoming a gestational surrogate?
Yeah, I'd say my advice would be really take the time to educate yourself. Reflect on why you want to do it. Surrogacy is an incredible journey. It's also a big commitment physically, emotionally, and mentally. It's so important to be clear on your motivations and to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. You have to go into it with an open heart and a lot of patience because every journey is different and there are often unexpected twists along the way. I think I'd also say make sure you have a strong support system, whether it's your spouse, family, friends, or the agency you work with. Having people around you who understand and support you will make all the difference. And then lastly, don't be afraid to ask questions and advocate for yourself. This is your journey
Yep.
too. It's important to feel empowered and informed every step of the way.
Yep. I think that's great advice. Obviously, we do a lot of education with Surrogate Mentor and
Yes.
through our podcast because we want to get those truths out there and information out there. And so, you know, women know what to expect when they get into this, and it
Yeah.
can really provide perspective. And that's why I love interviewing surrogates and just getting everybody's different stories and perspectives because every journey is different. And, a lot of times, journeys can go perfectly and they are that perfect, like Instagram worthy journey that is great. And everybody did the family pictures together and all of
Yes.
that. And then there are some that look different and it's okay that they look different. It's normal that it looks different or that you felt different about it and I think just normalizing all of that for women to just kind of see that every journey is different. And just because yours didn't look the way that somebody else's did doesn't make it bad or wrong. And it's okay to be nervous about things. And just the more we talk about it, the easier it is for surrogates and for intended parents and just people in general, I think, to normalize, you know, different ways that people build their families. And it's okay. And I love that part of.
I would also say, when I first started, I never knew about Surrogacy Mentor. And if I had known about y'all, I would have had all of my information in one spot. So that's another advice, surrogates. I would definitely utilize, the blog, the podcast. It's just so very informative and such good advice and other hearing people's experiences. I would have loved to listen to a podcast every day going to work. And so I'm happy now that I'm a part of Surrogacy Mentor and, get a part of all the behind the scenes. But yeah, I would definitely utilize Surrogacy Mentor. It's free. It's free to listen to the podcast. It's not like you have to subscribe. and pay for something monthly. The blog, all of it's free. And so it's good information. And it's just
Exactly.
like a really a one-stop shop.
Yeah, and that's what I always tell women too. Like whether you decide to work with us and let us help you find your perfect agency match or match with intended parents through Modern Parent Mentor, you utilize ourselves. We still want to be able to help you have the best, most informed, safe, ethical surrogacy journey. And that's really our main goal here. So whether you decide to fully come on with us or just utilize the information that we have out there, um, knowledge of power. And we believe that the only way to go into a surrogacy journey is with all the information and full disclosure. And you can't make an informed decision without all of that. And so with that means just saying all the things, right? Talking about the good, the bad, and the beautiful when it comes to surrogacy and just really understanding what you're fully getting into before you make that decision. Because it is not an easy process. It's a beautiful process. But it's not like, well, I got pregnant easily, so I'm going to sign up and go be pregnant next month. Like, not even close. A wonderful thing to be a part of if you are committed and ready. And as you said, doing it for the right reasons. And surrogacy really is just, it's amazing. And I love still being able to be a part of it, even though me and my uterus got cut off after my last C-section, that I can at least still be a part of helping bring joy and love into the world. One surrogate and surrogacy journey at a time. I'll be cheesy and throw that in there.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and for everybody listening. Keep your eye out. I know we've been slow introducing Maya in our social media posts and all of that, so we'll be seeing her around a lot more. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. But that brings us to the end of this episode of the Normalized Surrogacy podcast by Surrogacy Mentor. I want to thank our very special guest, Maya, for joining us for this chat today. Be sure to check us out online at surrogacymentor.com and modernparentmentor.com if you're interested in knowing whether surrogacy is right for you, and take our 2-minute easy quiz on our website. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast to learn more about gestational surrogacy and how to have a safe, ethical, and enjoyable surrogacy journey. Talk to you next time.